Hey everyone, Dominic here with the Raving Hordes Game Club in Saskatoon. This time, we've got a battle between Orc and Goblins and Warriors of the Dark Gods. My opponent is using his practice list for next weekend's up-and-coming War on the Plains. It's a local 2-day, 5-game tournament that we're hosting, and this one actually qualifies for the US Masters, I believe, as well. So, we played the Dawn Assault with King of the Hill as a secondary objective, and let's get into it. Here's a quick look at my deployments. Starting from left to right, we've got a unit of common Orc Boar Boys, standard musician, unit of cave goblins with nets and bows. In there I also have a cave goblin caster, wizard master with thaumaturgy. Beside that, big unit of Iron Orcs with Iron Orc BSB. My Iron Orc General on a Chariot. Next to that, we've got a unit of Common Orc with additional hand weapons, or paired weapons. Gargantula, Git Launcher, a Forest Goblin King on a Scuttle Spider, another Git Launcher, and finally a unit of Orcs with bows, standard musician. For my opponent, he's got I believe a Sorcerer on a Wasteland Behemoth, a unit of Barbarian Horse, I believe these are Flayers, if I'm not mistaken, is what they're called, some Dogs, Chosen Chariot, a unit of Forsaken with a Doom Lord as his general. He also has a Giant. Trying to find here. Back behind this unit there's his Wizard Master Sorcerer, I believe, as well. Unit of Warriors. I think they were Envy for the mark. I can't quite remember. And then finally another unit of Dogs. Just a quick look at the table. Pretty even for terrain. We've got a piece of impassable, a forest, a hill, a piece of impassable there, and another forest. For the two objectives for King of the Hill, it's this forest and this forest. So, after a little while, I ended up dropping to make sure I got first turn. Let's get started. So I don't really have too terribly much for moving. I've got the ranged advantage, so I might as well just sit back and kind of wait for things to get close, because they're going to be coming fast, especially on this side. The bow orcs marched up to get in place to come and maybe grab this objective. I think I forgot. I had my unit of scouts, Forest Goblin Spider Riders, who were up here and vanguarded and then moved up here as well to get on the flank of the dogs. But other than that, that's pretty much it for movement. We go into magic. We cast Hand of Heaven, and I believe he stopped this one. And then we did Trial of Faith, and I managed to cause a single wound to that. We did some shooting, and got off another guy. Over here, the Git Launchers both fired. I think I killed 3 or 4. And that's pretty much it for turn 1. Going in for Warriors of the Dark Gods. The Flayers and the Wasteland Behemoth cruise up the side. And most of his line progresses to the center line as well. It goes into magic phase. He does the Breath of Corruption over here and sacrifices some dogs to bump up the range. And then he tried to do Touch of the Reaper on the Iron Orc BSB, which was dispelled. He goes into shooting, does that Breath of Corruption, rolls really, really low, unfortunately, for him, I guess, and didn't cause a single wound. And that's pretty much what the table looks like as we go into turn 2. So start of turn 2, I kind of measured things out, and I decided to call out the war cry. So the Common Orcs go into the Warriors, the Iron Orcs go into the Forsaken, the Spider Riders back here going to the rear of the dogs. The Forest Goblin King that's over here goes into the warriors as well. Here he is. That all makes it in. And these boar boys also went right into that unit of flayers that was right in the front. The general and the spider continue moving up toward the center. The cave goblins reform on the spot to face what's coming over here, because I'm not entirely certain what I'm going to do there yet. And the bow orcs continue to march up the flank there. We go into the magic phase. We tried to do Hand of Heaven, the big version over here, which I think was dispelled. We did Bring the Pain, which was, I believe, was also dispelled. And then we did Smite the Unbeliever, and we lowered his strength and armor penetration by 1. We go into shooting. One missed, the other one misfired and can't shoot for the rest of the game. Tried to take some shots at the giant, didn't do anything. Shot at the chosen chariot, surprisingly, and caused a wound. We go into combat. The spider riders kill off a few. He kills... I killed 2, he killed 2 back. I win with a charge and a rear. We run him down. Over here, we wipe out the flares without suffering a wound and overrun to an inch beyond that piece of impassable. And over here, really unexpected, the warriors just absolutely open up. They kill off, started with 30, and I think there's 14 left. Didn't put a single wound on the Goblin King, but he only did 1 wound, unfortunately, so I did maintain steadfast and passed the check and stuck around. The king did not. Over here, we actually win, not by a whole lot. I think it was maybe by 2 in that combat. He fails the rerollable break check, runs, but gets away. So I'm inch behind. And this kind of is the start of the unfortunate, really bad luck for my opponent. That's what the table looks like as we go into turn 2 for Warriors of the Dark Gods. So the Wasteland Behemoth declares a charge, and I fled. I suffered 4 casualties for the dangerous trains. The giant goes into the flank here. And I believe the Chosen Chariot went into the front of those Iron Orcs. I think that was pretty much it for charges. Yep. So this one here fails. The Chariot makes it in. He goes into the to rally his fleeing troops. And the Forsaken don't rally. They fail again. So there's 4 checks. And because of that, he's worried that if things go bad with this combat here, I'll be able to just chase him off the board. So he brings up his sorcerer to try and use his chaff, which he really didn't want to do, but it's better than losing 1,400 plus points of unit there. So the dogs tried to go up and chaff, but failed a march check. And yeah, goes into magic phase. I believe he did the Breath of Corruption over here and failed the casting roll, actually. Then he tried to do the Pentagram of Pain just to knock off some wounds. I let it go, didn't do anything. And that was pretty much it. I think this is into combat here. He kills off a few. I use great weapons and only managed to put a single wound on him. But we're stubborn. We stick around, pass our stubborn check to maximize our contact. And that's how our things are looking like. Over here, he damaged me quite a bit. Not entirely. I got 4 guys left. I break. He didn't catch me. And I think that's pretty much it for the turn. As we go into the start of turn 3. So the Ragnarok, or the Gargantula, goes into the flank of these warriors. This chariot was going to go over here, but fortunately drew line of sight, couldn't see. Over here, we go into the rally. These guys managed to rally. These guys continue to flee. This guy passes his panic test. The Goblin King passes his rally check. And I don't really have much else for moving. The spiders tried to march up here as well. Failed a march check to try and get in front of the giant, but that's alright. Magic phase. We did Bring the Pain, which he dispelled. Then we do Smite the Unbeliever, and minus his strength and armor pen. We caused some wounds here, I think, via shooting at the dogs. And the other Git launcher misfires and can't fire for the rest of the game as well this turn. We go into combat. The Gargantula wipes the warriors out to a man and just sort of pivots on the spot where he is. We go over here. We kill the Chosen Chariot, which unfortunately panicked his wizard, and he fled. And these guys were good, though. So that's kind of what we were looking like. In this one here, I wasn't quite sure what to do with that, just because either way I was getting in a bad position. So I figure, one way or the other, he's coming at me. So I'd elect to just kind of stay. I gave up the flanks, and I figure I can probably do some wounds to these guys here and hold eventually stick out this way. I was worried about these guys rallying as well, so. But that's what the table looks like as we go into Warriors of the Dark Gods turn 3. So this turn, he didn't declare any charges, I don't believe. Both the Sorcerer and his General's unit finally rally. The dogs try to come up to chaff the chariot, fail a march check so they can't go anywhere. And the Barbarian horse just decide to move around. Goes into magic phase. He does the Aura Pentagram of Pain and knocks off a few goblins back here. And he did the Hellfire spell on those few remaining Spider Riders and got rid of them. So that's kind of what the table looks like as we go into turn 4 for the Orc and Goblins. Over here we declare this charge against the dogs. He makes it in. And then we go into the regular moves. The Iron Orcs actually back up a little bit. And these guys pass a march check. And they use the banner of the Relentless Company and get far out of sight for these guys. The Forest Goblin King comes up and marches right in front of this guy. And the Gargantula comes across the table here to help out this. We go into magic phase. We do Smite the Unbeliever to lower his resilience up here, which I believe went off. We did Hand to Heaven over there, and I believe that actually went off as well. Nope, that one was dispelled. Yeah. We did Bring the Pain on those guys, and that one went off. We go into... there was a shooting there. The bow orcs had shot at his giant, and I think caused a wound. And combat, we wipe out the two dogs, no problem. And pretty much just stay there. So that's what the table looks like as we go into turn 4 for Warriors of the Dark Gods. So that Wasteland Behemoth comes charging into the flank. And the giant goes into the Forest Goblin King. These guys just kind of thread the gap. They decide not to go into those goblins with nets with the Bring the Pain on. So they just come in between. And that's pretty much it. Goes into magic phase. He did the Hellfire spell. Boosted. And luckily he rolled really low for me. And didn't cause a single wound. Over here, he did the Aura Pentagram of Pain and did more damage to his own unit than he did to mine. So knocked them down to just 3 guys. And I forget what else. Oh yeah, he tried to do Touch of the Reaper, which I saved my dice for, and dispelled that on the BSB. Combat, I put another wound onto him, but he does all 3 wounds to me, wipes me out, and overruns to just there. Over here, he caused a wound to me, and I think I did 3 wounds to him. Over here. So, managed to stick around, we're fighting it out, and then I reformed to face him as well. That's what the table looks like as we go into turn 5 for Orc and Goblins. So over here, at the start of this turn, the BSB, we draw a line of sight, can just see the Sorcerer. So he decides to charge out. He doesn't want to risk that, so he flees. That was the only charge I declared. And as you see here, he actually did catch him. I just haven't removed the model yet. So the BSB runs down the Sorcerer and is like so. These Goblins, they reform on the spot to get as many bow shots against those last 3 remaining Barbarian Horse. These guys here are going to take some more shots there, and the Gargantula kind of moved back a little bit too, just in case his bow shots are needed to help finish off that. We go into Magic Phase. We do Bring the Pain on the big beast. And then we did Hand to Heaven, and we knocked off the rest of those Barbarian Horse with Hand to Heaven. Bring the Pain was dispelled. We did get Smite the Unbeliever off and lowered his Strength and Armor pen by 1. This guy here, after running down there, he just sort of pivoted on the spot. And yeah. We go into this combat. I think he managed to... No, didn't put another wound on me. And I did, I think, another wound to him. Another wound or 2. I can't quite remember what he's at now for wounds, but he's not looking so good. Passes his break check and sticks around. Over here, in the shooting phase, we did manage to get him up to 6 wounds with bow shots. But other than that, that's what the table looks like as we go into turn 5 for Warriors of the Dark Gods. So these guys, they declare that charge now that the BSB isn't in there. They fail it. That giant goes into the Bulwarks. They pass their terror check, and he makes it in, obviously. Goes into Magic Phase. All he's got left is a Wasteland Behemoth, which did... I forget what it was. I think it was it was either Breath of Corruption or Pentagram of Pain. But either way, he rolled 4 6s for it. And unfortunately, the guy blew himself up with the last 2 wounds, or last 1 wound, whatever he had on him, onto him. So, wipes himself out. And we go into this combat over here. He kills 3 orcs before stomps, and I put the last 2 wounds on him. Or last single wound on him. I can't remember if he had 8 or if he had 7. But wipes him out. My turn 6. I just decide to move up the Gargantula in front there because I don't want him to fight those orcs. They're kind of hurt. And the General and the BSB come in range to make sure that I've got a 9 rerollable. So I don't think he can do all of the wounds to that thing. Going in the Magic Phase. We get Bring the Pain and Smite the Unbeliever off on his unit. So he's now -1 resilience. And I'm rerolling my hit rolls. His turn 6, he charges in and doesn't do any wounds. He's actually down. He did 1 wound, actually, sorry. He did 1 wound to me. I did a bunch to him. He's down, but he fails the first break check, which is kind of the theme for him this game. Passes the second one, luckily, so the unit gets to stick around. But that's what the table looks like as we end the game there. Really unfortunate luck for my opponent for some of those break checks running away. Would have been a pretty different game if that first, his general's unit had stuck around in the center there. So, tallied up the points. It was a 16-4 split, with me capturing the secondary there as well. So 19-1 final score. Really fun game, and kind of felt good to finally break the curse, because I've had some pretty terrible games here the last little while, so I just hope it didn't go on to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed the battle. Stay tuned for the next one.